One guard gave him something to drink. People, lawyers, clerks, people throughout the whole legal community kept coming up to him saying, "Good luck, all the best, glad to see you free." And not one single person said anything that was negative. I said, "Well, that's what we are. That's what we are as a society."
What did he say when he walked in the house and he saw it?
I think he's still trying to figure it out. We have a nice fire going and he's looking, and Patricia took him upstairs to see his bedroom. You know, and he says, I don't know, I have to wake up at some point in time, you know. And so there we are.
What about you, Dennis? You've talked often about how Omar's almost like a son to you. You've been with him for so long. You've helped him in some of the worst situations. What does this mean to you today?
It's so many things, Mike. It's a pretty brilliant question from you, Mike. I say that with all love.
All my questions are brilliant.
I know.
I'll vouch for that.
Thanks, Paul.
Hey, sorry, I back off here. But it's a number of things. It's the start of that journey that I decided to do a long time when I walked out of Guantanamo for the first time, and I talked to you about that. Is I would like to restore him back to whole, and be able to allow him to participate in the Canadian community and send a resounding message that we don't treat people like Omar because they're good people. One part of it, allow him to get, no matter what abuse and tortures we've put on him, he's able to come out an even more human being and be able to pass that humanity on to the rest of us. It's the one thing. The other is, it takes a bit off my shoulder. I mean, I'm in the Supreme Court next week on Omar Khadr. I'm back in June for the appeal. And so, in many ways, the fights continue. But I know he's out. I know he's growing up. He's going to be growing up here. I know he's got a loving home. And I think the neighbours are going to be wonderful for him.
How long are you willing to open your home to him? As long as it takes?
As long as it takes, you know?
But it's going to be an enormous imposition on you and Patricia.
Well, it's being I mean, what do we say? I mean, what does it take for people to understand that it's cost millions, and we've spent it, both in terms of cash and in terms of lost hours. And every lawyer and every judge, and they all pat me in the back and say, "Good stuff. You've had me whine Mike like this," and not a single check. And so we continue.
But in terms of having to kind of look after him and ensure that it all goes well, I mean, it's different when he was inside. Now he's with you. You are responsible. Your name, your reputation, everything else is on the line.
I've been with him since a young man. I know what I'm dealing with. I think he's worth every effort. And will he spend his life with us? Not at all. He would like to be independent, and we wouldn't. He's never had to make choices, and so he needs to get a little bit of help along the way, and then he will move on in the appropriate time.
The biggest smile I've seen from him all week was when he was asked about you. How did you guys start that relationship? How did you hit it off right away? What was the start of it all?
I've often said this story, and I won't take too long. I met him in a cold, empty cell, a concrete cell in a torture prison. Guantanamo has 3 secret prisons outside the cages. And I saw a broken bird chained to a floor. I never ever saw him in all my years ever not chained to a floor. And so we journeyed together. He was a younger boy sitting in a chair, and I was the adult sitting in a chair. And so we would spend many hours. And those hours involved me telling him about Canada, about my family. Those hours also I developed at where I do trash talk to him, and he was shocked. So we have in some ways both grown up together, like a father and son. I'm not his father, I told him that, but I think as a father of my own children, I want to impart values onto him that I impart onto my children. And I'm proud of who he is. He has gone through hell. And there's not a document from Guantanamo all the way to now, from 15 to now, that ever says a negative thing about him. We even had the Lieutenant Colonel McCarthy, who ran the camps, right, that he was a great kid. And he appeared in court in Guantanamo at his own risk to say the same thing. So I've no worries about it.
Was there a tipping point where the relationship proved that, yeah, this is going to work, he is going to come out okay?
I don't know if there's a tipping point. There was a point where he had to understand that I would not harm him, because the fear I had was that he'd learnt that all adults, all position people in power, harm you. Whether it was from his father down to the guards to the torturers or whatever. And I realised that I had on a slow basis, I had to develop the fact that you could argue against me, you could challenge me, and I won't harm you. And that's really an important development when you're talking to a torture victim. And I've mixed with torture victims. And the one thing about torture victims is they don't want to buy a gun and come and shoot you. They want to make sure that nobody else gets injured like they've had. And I remember saying to Omar, what do you want to do when we ever get you out of here? And he said, I want to be a doctor. And I said, why? Because I don't want anybody to ever be hurt like I have. And I've worked with torture victims down in Argentina, and I heard the same thing. So they find humanity.
Are you worried that all this positive attention, he's going to be a rock star if he ever goes to King's?
No.
Are you worried that he won't be able to deal with it, or will just be...
Oh, of course. Of course. This is going to be that's why we're doing this tonight, to send you all home. So get home. So we could slowly take him out of the limelight. It'll be a while before he goes to King's. He will get educated slowly before he ever sets his foot into it's softly. I will take him to King's at night time sometime, walk around, get a sense of the place. I will leave here tomorrow, take him to my lake. The week after, I'll take him somewhere else.
Are you surprised at the level of support that he's found outside?
Not
right
at all.
Now, the
Not at all.
neighbors and...
I have today over 300 emails from all over the country and some from Europe. I had the same at my last court hearing, particularly in Europe. There is a huge body of people who, if they have compassion, come to a conclusion on a variety of different levels. One is a child should never be left in Guantanamo Bay. Others may think, I remember being in the plane with some RCMP chap, and he said, we speak about him in our office, and we've released all kinds of people into the community who have done terrible things after served a sentence. I just may think it's unjust that he spent so many years locked away.